Hi and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to build a hybrid leather and Kydex sheath. Off camera I cut these two pieces of Kydex larger than what we actually need for the size of the sheath before I get them into the oven. We want to set the temperature on the oven at about 220 degrees and then turn the light on to make sure that we can see them. Once they become soft, we're going to go ahead and start setting them up in our press. You can see that they're pretty hot. Then we're going to put the top on the press, and then we're going to secure everything down with some large clamps. After about 20 minutes, we can go ahead and remove the clamps, and the Kydex will have molded itself to the knife shape. The Kydex will still be sticking to itself a little bit, so while we have it still warm and sticky, we're going to go ahead and drill some pilot holes for some of our grommets, and then the remainder of those holes that will help keep the integrity of the entire sheath together. I typically will try to keep about an inch to an inch and a half between the spaces along the knife for the grommets, like you see here. And using a small bandsaw, I'm going to use that to cut off any of the excess material that I know that I'm not going to need later on. We do this so that when we're grinding the excess off of the sheath, like you see here, those particles get everywhere, and this is a little bit less that we have to do. And I find that that works really, really well. And here you can see exactly that stuff that I was talking about. It gets in your pockets and in your hair, it's everywhere. Now the edges on these are still a little bit sharp, so we're going to use a razor blade to round these out and smooth them. Once this is done, we can put the grommets into the body of the sheath and using an armor press, flatten them out so that they will hold the sheath together. Now that it's together, we can go ahead and cut the front and back plates. These are going to be the snap and the actual leather loop. And instead of using the oven for this one, we're just going to use a heat gun. I found that works just as well, and actually sometimes better. Now that it's pliable, we go ahead and set that in the press, and then the sheath on top of that so that the top two grommets on each side sit on the Kydex. Once the plate is cooled, we pull it from the press and we drill holes where the grommet left marks. Then we use the arbor press and set those grommets like we did before. We'll repeat this process also for the back side, but that's later on. One little thing I forgot, we're going to drill a hole in the centers for that snap. There it is. So I can't take full credit for what I'm getting ready to do, the next part of making the hybrid sheath. I've been watching a series of videos from Victor George, who has a YouTube channel. I'll leave that down in the description. And this is where I got the idea for at least the loop. He actually made a whole sheath out of that. I definitely recommend if you're struggling with leather sheaths, go watch his channel. You won't be confused anymore. And a good friend of mine that I'm making swords for, his name's Gary, and he's always been there to answer questions for me anytime I have it. He's got some great stuff. And if you want to get a hold of him, well, good luck. Here's the general shape of the loop. And what I'm doing here is punching a hole for the strap that will eventually cut in. And now that we're done playing, we're going to punch some holes in the corners for the grommets. I'm not going to punch one on this little small piece though. That's the actual strap that will hold the knife in later on. Once that's done, we go ahead and we will dye the sheath the color that we want to match the body of the sheath, in this case black. Then we're going to go ahead and get it prepped for mounting to the plates that we built earlier. Now that the leather is attached to the plates, we're going to go ahead and set up for the final punch that will put the other side of the snap and attach to the strap. You've already seen what it looks like to set a snap, so I just went ahead off camera and did that as well as trimmed off the excess leather. So now with a little bit of thread lock, we put the plates, the front and back plates, onto the sheath and wrap this thing up. Now that everything's together, this is what it looks like, and I'm really happy with how this whole thing came out. And if you saw my little white dog earlier in the video, leave a comment that starts with copper so that I know that you made it all the way to the very end of the video. Thanks for sticking around to the very end. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all the stuff that goes with it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!